Brad Wright from the Single Malt Whisky Club here. Welcome to November, and well, the heat is most certainly on, isn't it? For November, our malt of the month is a whiskey specifically designed to dram on in the summer heat from our old mates Ian and Vic at the Tin Shed Distillery. This month's malt of the month, the Iniquity Lazy Daze. And for those who love a traditional Scottish dram, we have a full-on peated island whiskey for you that will knock your little smoky socks off. The Ledaig 2012 Bordeaux cask matured from the Isle of Malt. Okay, the Tin Shed Distillery is in Adelaide, but is currently in the process of moving out into the Adelaide Hills. The new digs remain a tin shed like the old distillery, but the new tin shed is at least one order of magnitude bigger and better and even prettier than the original, if you can believe it. And I'm told it will have food. No more walking up the road for a bag full of banh mi's for the boys when I visit from now on, but I digress. Being an Adelaide distillery, these guys know the true meaning of hot weather, and being the innovators they are, they've come up with a whiskey that's drammable on one of those 30 plus degrees in the shade days. It all started a few years ago when an old mate of Ian's came to visit in high summer and wanted to try Ian's best whiskey. Well, at that time, his best whiskey was the award-winning Gold Batch, bottled at I think 60% ABV. Sweating profusely, Ian protested, but relented, and was ultimately proven right. It was too hot to drink it. But after the addition of more than a few ice cubes and a bit more whiskey, it was agreed that the diluted, cooled down whiskey, something Ian would never have considered doing to a prize whiskey before this, was hitting the spot perfectly on that sweltering Adelaide day. And so the concept of a whiskey designed around the hot Aussie summer was hatched. The design brief was not complex, but it was challenging as the parameters were to some extent fairly contradictory. They needed to make the whiskey light enough that it was pleasant to drink on a hot day, but not so light that it'd be drowned out by mixers or tamed by ice or be insipid neat on a cold winter's day. So a small batch was put down and released as a Daze dram, which is a Tin Shed Distillery members program, look it up, about a year ago, which received a resounding thumbs up from both the Den members and the greater public at tasting events such as the Whisky Show, etc. And so, based on the hugely positive feedback, Tin Shed Distillery are releasing Lazy Daze in their Anomaly series, which includes the famous Flustercluck. And we're proud to be launching it for them. So, the Lazy Daze is a blend of 4 whiskies. It's 3-year-old first fill ex-Heavens Hill bourbon cask makes up the majority, at somewhere close to 80%, I think. But it's been tweaked with the addition of some Shiraz and some Apera and some tawny matured whiskies. It's then been bottled at 40% ABV with no chill filtering and no colouring, and presented at 40% ABV. The price is suitably kind to you. It's only $99. Yep, it's a 700ml Aussie single malt whiskey at under $100. So how is it? Well, it's bloody good, frankly. But you knew I'd say that. There it is. It's fairly unassuming, bronzy gold colour. But on the nose, there's tart green apples, there's passion fruit, there's jasmine and vanilla. And there it is. There's that classic telltale tin shed leathery note too. On the palate, wow. There's big flavour right up front with as close to zero heat as I've ever tasted in a neat whiskey. Lots more classic yellow fruit notes. More citrus and banana and passion fruit there too. And the finish is It's a lovely lingering earthy finish with fruit mint sort of wafting round a soft leathery oakiness with more of that classic bourbon cask vanilla jumping into the mix. As I'm doing this, I'm getting a little bit of coconut too. There's a little bit of jasmine notes popping up as a sort of final hurrah in that finish. Warning, this whiskey is just so easy to drink. It should have a warning label. It packs a heap of flavour, but leaves all the heat behind. It's by no means insipid or watered down, but that low ABV won't have you sweating like a pig around the barbecue when you're drinking it. And for the price, frankly, why not throw it in a frosty highball and really cool down? The boys at the distillery are recommending a mix of lemonade and a couple of drops of orange bitters with heaps of ice. And it's only $99. It's amazing. Yum. Get on it. Now it's optional extra time. Okay, you peat freaks, front and centre. We have got a feisty little number for you. This one isn't lightly peated. It doesn't have wafts of smoke, and nor does it give a suggestion of peat from afar. This is an unashamedly oily, smoky, iodine and burnt rubbery peated dram with a healthy dose of sweet fruit plus floral heather notes to boot. So our Members Extra for November is a brand name that, frankly, you have to be told how to pronounce it the first time to do it properly. So let's get it right out of the way now. That's how it's spelt. Ledaig is how it's pronounced, and it means safe haven, and it comes from the Tobermory Distillery, which is the only distillery on the Isle of Mull. This is a 9-year-old ex-Bordeaux cask matured, cask strength peated bottle of pure joy. The Ledaig 2012 Bordeaux cask matured. I guess to put it simply, Ledaig is the peated brand of whiskey released by the Tobermory Distillery. They normally mature in bourbon and finish in various casks, but this limited edition is fully red wine matured for 9 years. It's non-chill filtered and completely free of colouring and bottled at a cask strength of 56.8%. So how is it? There it is. Dark gold, I guess. And even before it gets to my nose, it gets to my nose now, even before it got to my nose, it's straight into it with a bitumen-y, kerosene-y, almost jet fuel-y front row to the nose. Oh, there's salty, iodine notes there as well, that behind that front row to back it up. But delving deeper, God, there's an underlying sweet note that begs further investigation. And then there's a distinctly floral bouquet that leaps out as well. There is so much going on here. On the palate. Wow, on the palate it's gloriously oily, mouth-coating, peated island whiskey, alright? Oh, that is immediately apparent. The peat presents more burning rubber than bitumen on the palate. There's a super jammy, tart sweetness that comes squeezing through the cracks between those lovely peaty notes. And the finish, just sit there. Let those lovely campfire notes swirl around that sweet minced fruit. There's a saltiness as well on the finish that's hidden on the palate. It's gorgeous. Wow, this is big Scottish peat from the very get-go. You just know it's got half a mind to give you a right good scalp on the jaw and a boot in the backside. But like most gruff Scots, it's really all bluff and bluster, and it means you no harm. It's got everything a true peat freak looks for in a whiskey. There's kerosene, there's bitumen, there's campfire smoke, there's a healthy dollop of fruity num-nums to boot. So that's November at the Single Malt Whisky Club. The brand new Iniquity Lazy Daze, the almost scientifically designed perfect summer dram, and at only $99, get a couple. Seriously, they will evaporate very quickly once opened, I promise. And for our peat freaks, the almost polar opposite to our malt of the month, the Ledaig 2012 Bordeaux Cask matured 9-year-old. A big, sweetie peaty. And remember, folks, this is the last delivery of the year you can actually count on reaching you before Christmas Day. So make good use of that $15 all-you-can-eat postage and stock up for the silly season. I'm Brad Wright. Until next month, Slam Javar.